The first time Emma saw Daniel, he was standing in the cereal aisle of a grocery store at 8:17 on a rainy Thursday night, looking completely lost. She noticed him because he was holding two different boxes of cereal like they were life-changing decisions, and because her 4-year-old son, Noah, had loudly announced, "Mommy, that man looks like he needs help." Half the store turned to look. Emma wanted the floor to open and swallow her whole. She knelt beside Noah, trying not to laugh. "Honey, we don't say things like that out loud." But Daniel did laugh, a warm, tired laugh that sounded like someone who hadn't had a reason to laugh in a while. He walked over, holding up the cereal boxes like evidence. "To be fair," he said, "he's absolutely right. I have no idea if dinosaurs would prefer chocolate puffs or honey stars." Noah gasped dramatically. "Dinosaurs like marshmallows." Daniel nodded seriously. "That was my third option." Emma smiled despite herself. It had been a long time since smiling came easily. For the last 3 years, life had been a careful balancing act of rent payments, daycare pickups, late-night freelance work, and pretending she wasn't exhausted. Since Noah's father had walked away before Noah was even born, Emma had learned how to be everything at once: mother, father, comfort, discipline, provider, protector. She had also learned that loneliness could sit beside you at dinner like an uninvited guest. Dating had become one of those things people casually suggested, like yoga or meal prepping. "You should get back out there." As if, she'd reply. Who exactly was lining up to date a 28-year-old single mom with student loans, trust issues, and a child who once licked a shopping cart? Apparently, Daniel was. At least, that's how it started. He introduced himself in aisle 7 while Noah explained dinosaur cereal preferences. He was 34, an architect, recently moved back to town, and apparently terrible at shopping for his niece. His sister had asked him to babysit. He had shown up with frozen waffles and orange juice. The niece, age 6, had declared him a disappointment. Emma laughed so hard she had to hold onto the cart. Before they parted ways, Daniel hesitated and then asked, "Would it be weird if I said I'd like to see you again?" Emma's instinct was to say yes. Not because she didn't like him. That was the problem, she did. He had kind eyes. The kind that made you feel like he actually listened when you spoke. He didn't glance at his phone every 10 seconds. He talked to Noah like he mattered. That alone felt suspiciously attractive. Still, experience had taught her caution. So instead of yes, she said, "Maybe. If you can prove you've upgraded your grocery skills." He grinned. Challenge accepted. 3 days later, he showed up at the local park with strawberries, crackers, and dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets. Noah called him a genius. Emma called it dangerous. Because hope was dangerous. At first, she tried to keep emotional distance. She told herself it was casual. Just coffee dates. Just walks in the park. Just someone to text when Noah fell asleep and the apartment became too quiet. But Daniel had this frustrating habit of being consistent. He remembered things. Like how Emma hated driving in heavy rain because of an accident she'd had in college. Like how Noah insisted on sleeping with one sock on and one sock off. Like how Emma's mother used to sing old Motown songs while cooking, and how she hadn't heard those songs since her mother passed away 2 years earlier. One evening, after a particularly brutal workweek, Emma came home to find Daniel sitting on her apartment steps with takeout and a small speaker playing, "Ain't Number Mountain High." "Enough." She froze. "How did you even? You mentioned it once," he said simply. "And you sounded like you missed her." That night, after Noah fell asleep on Daniel's shoulder during a movie, Emma stood in her kitchen pretending to wash dishes so he wouldn't see her cry. It terrified her, not Daniel. How much she was beginning to need him. People like Emma didn't trust good things easily. Good things had a habit of leaving. But Daniel stayed. He helped Noah build a school volcano project that exploded too early and covered the kitchen in baking soda sludge. He showed up to Noah's preschool, Superhero Day, wearing a crooked paper cape because Noah insisted he come as Captain Pancake. He sat with Emma in the emergency room at 2 a.m. when Noah had a terrifying fever and whispered jokes to keep her from spiraling. He didn't act like Noah was baggage. He acted like Noah was a privilege. And that, more than anything, made Emma begin to believe. Maybe this could be real. Maybe love didn't always arrive dramatically. Maybe sometimes it looked like someone remembering your coffee order or staying on the phone while you folded laundry. Maybe sometimes it looked like peace. 6 months in, Emma let herself imagine impossible things. A house someday. Family dinners. Noah calling someone, Dad, without confusion attached to the word. She hated herself for hoping. Because hope made the fall worse. And the fall came on a Tuesday. It was stupid, really. She had borrowed Daniel's laptop because hers had crashed right before an important client deadline. He was in the shower. She was at his apartment, trying to finish edits before Noah got home from preschool. She wasn't snooping. She opened the laptop. An email notification popped up. Subject line, "Can't wait to see you again. Love you." From Olivia. Emma stared. Her chest tightened. At first, she told herself there had to be an explanation. Coworker. Cousin. Old friend with poor boundaries. Then another message appeared. "Miss you already. Last weekend felt like old times." Her fingers went cold. She clicked. She knew she shouldn't. But heartbreak makes detectives of us all. Photos. Messages. History. Not recent enough to be dismissed. Not old enough to be harmless. Olivia. A woman with bright eyes and familiar intimacy in every word. And then the line that shattered everything. "I still believe we'll figure this out. Love, your almost wife." Emma stopped breathing. By the time Daniel came out of the shower, towel around his shoulders, she was standing by the window like a stranger in his home. He saw her face and immediately knew. Emma. Who is Olivia? Silence. And in that silence, everything cracked. He swallowed hard. "She was my fiancé." Was. It's complicated. Emma laughed, but it sounded broken. Men always say that right before they ruin your life. It ended. We've been separated for almost a year. Separated isn't ended. I know. Do you? She snapped. Because I'm standing here finding out that the man my son adores and the man I finally let myself trust still has someone else waiting in the wings. There is no one else. There is clearly someone else. His voice cracked. She's sick. Emma froze. He looked exhausted suddenly. Older. Olivia has stage 4 lymphoma. We broke apart long before the diagnosis, but when she got sick, I couldn't just disappear. Emma's anger stumbled, but didn't vanish. So you lied. I was trying to protect everyone. No. You were trying to avoid consequences. He closed his eyes because he knew she was right. She has no family left. I'm all she has for hospital appointments, treatment days, everything. I stayed legally connected because her insurance is tied to my coverage. Emma stared at him, the anger tangled with confusion, hurt, guilt. So while I'm building a future with you, you're still someone else's husband in every way that matters. We never married, but you might as well have. His silence answered. Emma nodded slowly, tears burning. I can survive being alone, Daniel. I've done it before. What I can't survive is building trust on half-truths. Please, he said quietly. Don't make me choose compassion and lose everything. Her voice broke. You already chose. You just didn't let me know I was competing with grief. She left. And this time, she took hope with her. The weeks after felt worse than heartbreak. Because heartbreak for herself she could handle. But Noah asking, did Daniel stop loving us? Nearly destroyed her. Children didn't understand emotional complexity. They only understood absence. Emma kissed his forehead and lied softly. No, baby. Sometimes grown-ups just get lost. At night, after Noah slept, she replayed everything. The kindness. The lies. The sincerity. The betrayal. She hated that both could be true. Her best friend Jasmine said, you can love someone and still know they're not safe for your heart. Emma repeated that like prayer. Then, one snowy Friday evening in December, the hospital called. At first she thought it was a mistake. A nurse explained carefully. Daniel had listed Emma as an emergency contact months ago. Olivia had taken a severe turn. Daniel had been there for 3 days straight and had finally collapsed from exhaustion in the waiting room. He keeps asking for Emma, the nurse said. Emma sat on her couch, staring at the wall. Every rational part of her said don't go. Protect yourself. Choose peace. But compassion is inconvenient like that. An hour later, she was sitting in a hospital hallway that smelled like antiseptic and old fear. Daniel looked terrible. Unshaven. Hollow-eyed. Like someone carrying too much. When he saw her, relief hit his face so hard it hurt to witness. You came. I almost didn't. He nodded like he deserved that. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Emma asked quietly, "How is she?" He looked at the floor. "Dying." One word, heavy enough to silence everything else. "She asked for me this morning," he said. "Not because she thinks we're getting back together. She knows that's over. She said I'm the last person who remembers who she was before she became sick." Emma's throat tightened. Love, she realized, wasn't always romance. Sometimes it was witness. Sometimes it was staying. "She's scared," he whispered. "And I'm scared that if I stay, I lose you. But if I leave, I lose myself." There it was. Not excuse. Truth. Messy, human truth. Emma sat beside him. Not as girlfriend. Not yet. Maybe never. Just as one tired human sitting beside another. "You should stay," she said. He looked at her like she'd handed him oxygen. "She needs someone to hold her hand. No one should leave this world feeling abandoned." Tears filled his eyes. "But you." "I'm still angry," Emma said honestly. "I still don't know if I can trust you again. But compassion shouldn't be punished. Dishonesty should." He nodded, crying quietly now. And Emma, despite everything, reached for his hand. Because sometimes forgiveness begins long before trust returns. Olivia passed away 2 weeks before Christmas. Emma never met her. But she attended the small memorial anyway, standing in the back while Daniel spoke about a woman who loved old bookstores, terrible horror movies, and painting sunflowers badly. He cried halfway through. Emma cried too. Not for lost romance. For the strange, complicated ways people belong to each other. Afterward, Daniel found her. Outside beneath pale winter sunlight. "I didn't expect you. I didn't expect me either." He laughed softly. Then he said the thing that mattered. No more half-truths. No more protecting people by deciding for them. "I was wrong. I hurt you, and I hurt Noah. I can't undo that. I can only tell the truth now, even if it costs me everything." Emma looked at him for a long time. People always talked about forgiveness like it was one grand gesture. It wasn't. It was small. Annoyingly small. It was answering the phone. It was agreeing to coffee. It was allowing possibility without guarantees. It was terrifying. "Noah still asks about Captain Pancake," she said. Daniel smiled through tears. "I miss that cape. That cape was a crime. A heroic crime." She took a breath. "I'm not promising forever. I'm not asking for forever. I'm asking for honesty. You'll have it. And patience. Even more of that. And if you ever lie to me again, I know. You'll weaponize dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets." She laughed. Really laughed. The first real laugh in months. And in that laugh, something softened. Not repaired. Healing is slower than movies make it look. But softened. Spring came quietly. Daniel started again, not with grand speeches, but with consistency. School pickups. Saturday pancakes. Honest conversations. Therapy, because he admitted love wasn't enough without emotional courage. Emma watched. Carefully. Hope, once broken, returns like a shy animal. Slowly. Noah, of course, forgave first. Children often do. One afternoon, while the three of them planted tomatoes on Emma's tiny apartment balcony, Noah looked up and asked Daniel, "Are you staying for real this time?" The question hit like truth always does. Daniel knelt to his eye level. "If your mom lets me, yes. For real." Noah considered this seriously. "Okay. But no lying. Mommy hates that." Emma nearly choked laughing. Daniel nodded solemnly. "That is an excellent rule." Noah handed him the tiny watering can like a formal contract. Months later, on another rainy Thursday night, almost exactly where it all began, they stood again in the cereal aisle. Noah was now passionately defending marshmallow dinosaurs to an elderly cashier. Daniel leaned beside the cart. Funny place for life-changing moments. Emma smiled. Apparently this aisle is powerful. He looked at her, not dramatic, not cinematic. Just real. "I loved you then," he said. "Even when I was too afraid to do it right." She swallowed. "And now I know love isn't about deserving. It's about showing up honestly and staying." Emma looked at Noah. At the ridiculous cereal boxes. At the ordinary miracle of being here after all the broken places. She thought about Olivia. About grief. About second chances. About how life rarely gave us clean stories with easy villains. Sometimes good people made terrible mistakes. Sometimes love looked like letting go. Sometimes it looked like returning better. She reached for Daniel's hand. "Then stay." He did. Not perfectly. But faithfully. And maybe that was better. Because the most beautiful love stories were never about perfection. They were about people brave enough to tell the truth after fear, to choose kindness after pain, to remain soft in a world that kept giving them reasons to harden. Emma learned that being strong didn't mean refusing help. It meant allowing love to enter without demanding guarantees. Daniel learned that honesty was not kindness delayed, it was kindness delivered on time. And Noah learned that families weren't always the ones you started with. Sometimes they were the ones who stayed. Years later, when people asked Emma how she knew Daniel was the one, she never mentioned romance. She mentioned a grocery store, a paper superhero cape, a hospital hallway, and a little boy who believed dinosaurs preferred marshmallows. Because love, she discovered, was rarely one grand moment. It was 1,000 small choices. To tell the truth, to forgive carefully, to stay when staying mattered. And sometimes, when life handed you heartbreak disguised as hope, the bravest thing you could do was believe that healing could still lead you home. In the end, that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.